All right, welcome back. Another tip, and this is the final piece of extracting the chapter markings from a YouTube video and creating an accessible resource. I call it a dashboard, but you're looking at the final product. If you recall, the weekend challenge a week and a half ago was to extract the time markers from a list of YouTube videos that Mike Gervin, Excel is Fun, had provided, and he does a fantastic job of including the markings, and they're very comprehensive. So extracting those, then creating a URL that could become a hyperlink. So you're looking at the final product. There's 4 videos in that playlist. It's the Excel is Fun Data Analysis Basics course, and a total item count of 203 chapter markings. So you're seeing the final product, but let's look at what comes into play to make this happen. And recall that the back end is this stuff is sitting in, the data is all sitting in a Google Sheets file, and it's imported into Excel using import from the web CSV capability, since the Google Sheets file was published as a CSV. So I want to highlight just a few things. That's the opening page, and these are just images. So the first thing is I have the ability to refresh data. So if my underlying Google Sheets file changes, which it will because I put in these topics out in the Google Sheets file, and that's incomplete, that has to be built. And then I have the ability to hide and unhide columns. Not everything, as you can see here, not everything's being shown. For instance, the hyperlink URL, I don't need to show it, I need it so I can generate this URL, but I hide it, and this gives me the ability to unhide the columns and hide the columns. Number 2, I have a built-in capability to search the YouTube description for partial text. So for instance, I could type power and it would find anything with power pivot, power query, or I could do pivot and it would find anything with pivot tables or power pivot. Very useful to filter, and once I search that term, I can filter the list or I can just clear the search. So that's the second functionality built in. Third, I have the file count and a small chart that just tells me status-wise where I'm at. And I can see that as I classify these, my amounts here are going to go up and my open's going to go down. Number 4, I have slicers built in to, at a broader level, filter the tables, the table. So you can filter it by video description, or I've given the ability for me to, based on status, like anything I classify as dynamite, share this, I can filter on and have instant access to it. A URL to click on and open the YouTube video right to that point. Another feature, if you're familiar with conditional formatting, is the ability here to simply, if I search, it'll highlight it, anything it finds, it'll highlight that row in a light purple color, and then it will stop. But if I haven't searched, I want it to go through and highlight the rows based on what my response is. And again, that happens automatically, as you can see here. Number 7, a drop-down list so I can classify the videos. Now, this is flexible. You can make it anything you wanted. Any user could do it. I picked these categories because this is the way I like to think about when I'm reviewing the content. And that's it. So those concepts come together to really create a dynamic and updatable usable resource versus just having a bunch of chapter links out on YouTube. So let's look at the file here quick and just highlight a couple things. So say I'm going to search pivot. You can see it's automatically searched. I can filter on that list. And I can see that I have 25 videos that contain pivot. I want to clear that. I'm back to my normal thing, normal view. So let's say I understand grouping, so I'm going to say reviewed, got this. You can see that this went up to 10, went down to 187. Get data, this is an excellent. I'm going to say Dynamite share this, highlights it in green, give us down to 186. So I'm going to work this, or the user, whoever's using this tool, would be able just to work through and have a running tally on what they needed or wanted to come back to. So that's just the concept. It started with this idea of how do we scrape the URL in YouTube to get the time chapter in seconds, which enables me to create a URL that I can bring in and hyperlink, and it's dynamic, and then I built the rest of the dashboard around that. So it's a pretty interesting tool. What's the application for this? Anywhere in an organization, if you build something like this, you could provide it to your team, and each person would have their own resource to learn on whatever content it is that you've decided is relevant to learn on. So that's a wrap on the challenge of the week, and that was a fun one. See you in the next video.